Wes, this next one you brought up, and like when I brought up the topic to you, I wasn't sure where it was going to go. I was just pissed off about GoldenEye, but I was like, man, what else? What other horrific decisions were made? And then you brought this one up, and I was like, oh my god, it was so bad.
It was
What
bad.
was?
I lived through that, man. That was horrible.
I was a little young at the time, so I don't remember this too well. So I'm gonna let you take things from here, and I'll add some salt and pepper. And
Man, so the year was 1995. I was uh I was working at Electronics Boutique, and then they did their pre-orders back then, but they had a reserve book, and we knew the Saturn was coming. We were
I'm
super
sorry, hang on
excited.
1 second. Just for you guys who don't know what a reserve book is, basically you would go in there, you would put your name and your phone number on like on
Mhm.
a physical book because this was in the 90s. It was a physical book with printed out
Yep,
things, and you just put your name, your phone number. If you want to be contacted when this item is available to pre-order.
correct, correct.
All right,
So
go
we
ahead. I'm
had a
sorry.
we had a bunch of names on it, and knew it was coming. It was a Sega machine, the successor to the Genesis and 32X Sega CD. Couldn't wait. My manager goes to a conference in August. No, it was actually earlier than that. And he says, "Hey, Wes, I know you were on the list for Saturn. How serious were you to get one?" I'm like, "Pretty serious. I definitely want one." "Okay, they'll be in the store tomorrow." Tomorrow? Yes. He said Sega surprised announced that all the Saturns were launching immediately. Okay, I was excited, but there were no games. Dude, I think there were like 5 games. We had Panzer Dragoon, Daytona USA, Clockwork Knight, Worldwide Soccer, and Virtua Fighter. That was it.
I believe all those were published by Sega.
They were. That was it.
Yeah, I mean, this did a bunch of stuff to different people. So the show that Wes is referring to was E3. It was in May of 1995,
Mm-hmm.
and this was originally scheduled to release in September 2nd of
Yes, it was.
1995. So this was about 3 or 4 months ahead of schedule. And this quick decision to release the games, it pissed off some retailers, which I know you know more about, and it also pissed off plenty of developers slash publishers that wanted to be there on launch day that obviously weren't able to put out their game within 24 hours.
Yeah, no, because there was no third party support for months because
How could
they,
there be?
yeah, you know what? It was such chaos at that moment because third party developers were like, okay, we have until September to get our games ready and shipped and everything, and then they're gonna drop this bomb. You know what? What? Oh man, it took months to get a new release, and we got Bug for the Saturn like two,
Oh,
3 months later. And then we got the John Claude Van Damme Street Fighter the movie game.
oh,
That
nice,
that was
nice.
that was the first third party game I remember coming out. And but again, horrible, horrible, horrible decision on Sega's part because there was no games. There was no games, man.
Well, I got to ask you this because again, I was younger during this period of time. I wasn't there at the launch. I don't know. I don't know much about this. You were there. Did you guys like sell out of your pre-orders right away? Did you even have pre-orders at that point? Like what? So what happened with that? How many consoles did you guys get, if you remember, and like how quickly did you sell out of them?
We oh man, I trying to remember. We didn't get a whole lot. Um I know we had 2 pages of names on in the book
But these
that
weren't even pre-ordered. These were people that just wanted it.
one that showed interest that when we started the pre-orders, we would to call them and let them know, and they would come in and they would pre-order. But yeah, everybody was like, "Wait, it's not supposed to come out for like 4 more months." Yeah, we got like 10.
That's
That was
crazy.
it, and that was it. It was a horrific business decision, Sega. That was, you know what? A lot of it had to do with they were scared of Sony because at that point, Sony was around the corner. You know, it was
And
talk that
they were going to be $100 cheaper. I don't know if they announced it at that point or
yeah,
not, but Sony was going to come out $100 cheaper than Saturn.
yeah, they were trying to beat Sony to the market, and capitalize on the head start, but it backfired.
It
It
did.
backfired in a big way. I just, I enjoyed my Saturn. I loved my Saturn. It was great for 2D fighters, but to get to that point was rough. Was rough.
Did you guys sell out the first day you got them?
We within 24 hours of them arriving in the store, they were all gone.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Because there was also, the advantage of doing a surprise launch like that is like the hype just goes, oh my, people just have to
Mm-hmm.
have it. Like they go from, oh, I kind of want it to, oh my god, they're available. I gotta go get it.
Yep, yep. And then a lot of people say, hey, we heard that Sega surprised announced the Saturn drop. Do you guys have any? It was total chaos.
Yeah, I definitely remember the end of that because I was young, but like I really wanted one, and I realized at some point the tide. This was the point the tide was turning because it was right before Christmas. I don't know which Christmas, so it was probably a few years later, and they were being discounted by like I think 100 $200 like off like the sticker
Mhm.
price. So and I was just like, man, I should get a Saturn, and I was like, well, if they're giving that much off, like it's only been out for like a couple of years, like that doesn't make any sense. Like that's a lot of money. I was like, I'll wait a little bit longer, and then like a few months later, like Saturn's dead to us. We're gonna make something called a Dreamcast.
Man, you know what? Another thing that told me Sega was scared of Sony because they got, back then there was a lot of chatter that Sega got a hold of the specs for the PlayStation, and they saw
Hmm.
it was a 3D powerhouse back in the day. And the Saturn was supposed to be your 2D killer hardware machine. And then they saw 3D and they kind of had to go back and kind of just slap some 3D chips together, which made it very difficult to design for, make games for. And
That's why
then
Saturn's so hard to emulate for now
it
because
is,
there's so much.
man.
It was like a hodgepodge of stuff thrown together.
Yeah, especially with the transparencies, you could tell, the PlayStation, for a Gen 1 console at the time, it handled transparencies well. The Saturn, you look at transparencies, it looked like mesh wire. It was horrible looking. It was horrible looking. So it's like, 2D, beautiful. It ran Street Fighter games, Darkstalkers games flawlessly. Flawlessly. But it was just it's Sega learned their lesson because they did it right with the Dreamcast. They did it
Yeah.
1,000 times better with the
Uh,
Dreamcast.
I mean, they had a great launch at Dreamcast. There was tons of games to play.
Mm-hmm.
That system was truly the next generation system at the time. I think it had like 6 months or a year before any other console was out. Like the next closest console would have been what, PS2,
PS, what the which one? The Dreamcast?
Dreamcast.
The Dreamcast was, yeah,
Yeah, it was
yeah, PS2.
PS2 and
PS2, GameCube, PS2, GameCube, and Xbox. Those were like the
yeah,
next systems waiting in the wing.
yeah. I don't know which one came out first, but even then, it was like whatever one of those three systems came out first. Sega was at least 6 months ahead of the game. I'm pretty sure. I
Mm-hmm.
remember them having a window where it was just them. Like you want it next gen, it's Dreamcast. There's no other options at that moment.
I was there. I mean, it's sad the Dreamcast only lasted for 2 years. It's unfortunate because of the whole Saturn surprise launch. It pissed off a lot of third party developers like EA. EA would not do a game for the Dreamcast. They just refused,
Well,
and a
plus
lot of
they
the
started making their own 2K sports franchises, so that also
this is
that
true
pissed
that
them off even further, man.
so it was just one of those things, man. That was yeah. KB Toys refused to carry the Saturn, any Sega products.
Right, because they left them out of the launch. They said there's a
Yeah,
select group of retailers there's only a select group of retailers getting this on launch day. And KB wasn't one of them. So they're like, okay, we're just not going to carry your system, and they never
so
did.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Like Sega, what were you thinking back then?
I don't know. I have a feeling like if you go back and look, a lot of that stuff came like with weird decisions. A lot
Yeah.
of that came from Sega of Japan, where Sega of America was making like smarter decisions and like doing very well for the most part. Not saying it was all Japan's fault, but like decisions like this, you don't get the go ahead unless Japan is either calling the shot or telling you
Hmm.
to. You know, like
Yeah, man.
crazy,
I mean,
crazy stuff.
it was fun time living through that though, but it was just a head scratcher. It's like, what?
Bizarre.
Very.